Have you been trying to learn Russian for a long time, but you're still struggling with reaching your target level? Do you want to quickly improve your Russian skills, but the language feels too overwhelming for you? If that's you, then you are in the right place, because in this video, I'll talk about how to effectively learn the Russian language and achieve the best possible results in the shortest time frame. И всем привет! Welcome back to Level Up Your Russian. In this video, I want to share with you 5 tips for effective learning. And I'm not gonna talk about the obvious ones, like practice more, watch movies, read books. I want to share with you tips that actually work for me, and I'm sure that they will work for you as well. Many of my students ask me, how can I learn Russian faster? Well, the truth is, we can't really learn the language. We don't even know our native languages 100%. What we should talk about is achieving a specific level in the language we are trying to learn. So setting the correct goals, which should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, is the first step to success. Make sure to watch this video until the end, because at the end of it, I'll share with you one more bonus tip, which has proven to be super useful. Let's start. Tip number 1. Conversation with people better than you in the language. An extremely useful thing to do when trying to learn Russian or any other language. Find a person who is better than you. It can be a friend, a tutor, or anyone else you can spend some time with talking in Russian. Research has shown that an hour of conversation is as good as 5 hours in a classroom. The first reason for this is motivation, because you'll be far more motivated to communicate with a live person in front of you than studying from a book on your own. The second reason is that language needs to be processed, not memorized. So, staring and memorizing a word in a book or from flashcards simply doesn't stick the same way as being forced to use a word in conversation a mere 2 or 3 times. I believe the reason is that our minds place more priority on memories which involve actual human and social experience, memories which have emotions tied to them. Tip number 2. Make sure to implement in practice what you have learned. Another great technique that you can use is practicing in your head while going about your day and not talking to anyone. Challenging yourself to think in Russian is a useful exercise that you can do. We all have monologues running in our head in our native language. Instead, you can continue to construct sentences and fake conversations in your head in Russian. For example, you can visualize and practice a conversation about a topic you're likely to have before actually having it. This will make your actual conversations much easier. Tip number 3. Once you have decided to study the language, study intensively. This will shorten the time you need to reach a certain level and help you improve so much faster. This means that studying a language 4 hours a day for 2 weeks will be more beneficial for you than studying it 1 hour a day for 2 months. Language requires a lot of repetition and a consistent commitment. It's better to dedicate a specific period of time to study Russian, even if that's 1 or 2 weeks, when you will give your best and study as intensively and as much as possible, than to slowly study it for months or even years. Remember, studying a language doesn't like breaks. Tip number 4. Know your motivation. When you decide to start learning Russian, make sure to know your reason why. Knowing why you are learning Russian is a key to mastering it. Are you looking to start a new life in Russia? Are you fascinated by the culture and want to be able to better understand it? Are you planning a trip to Russia and want to be able to speak to locals? If you don't know why you learn it and how it is going to enrich your life in the long run, chances are your motivation is going to fade away pretty quickly. And tip number 5, take it one word at a time and don't skip steps. This one is especially helpful. When it comes to studying a new language, it is very likely that at some point you will feel overwhelmed by the amount of new grammar and vocabulary that you need to learn, not being able to understand the language, or struggling to say the things you want. And many students start feeling frustrated, thinking that it is too hard for them, that they will never reach fluency. This can be quite demotivating unless you understand that learning a new language takes time. And the most important tip I can give you here is don't skip anything. What I mean by this is, if you're having a conversation, listening to something, or reading a text, the first time you notice a word or a phrase that you don't understand, stop and don't continue unless you have cleared it up and fully understood its meaning. The best is if you have the opportunity to ask a native speaker or your teacher or tutor to explain it for you and give you a few examples of how that word or phrase is used in practice. Then make sure to understand it. If you haven't, keep on asking questions and try to use it a few times straight away in the next 2 or 3 sentences you say. And then use it again later in the day. I guarantee that next time you need to use this word, you will be absolutely confident about it. And trust me, that is a huge progress, even if that's the only word or phrase you will learn during that day. Okay, that were my 5 tips for effectively learning Russian. They also apply to learning any other language as well. So make sure to try them out for yourself and stick to the ones that work for you. And let me know in the comments below, what techniques do you use for effective learning? And as I promised in the beginning of this video, here is another extra tip that works amazingly well for me, and I think it's a great mind hack when it comes to memorizing things. And there is plenty to memorize when it comes to learning a new language. Try to make associations. Association is a powerful memory aid. Whenever we want to memorize something, we can associate it with something that is firm in our memory and make it easier to recall. Let me give you an example. During a walk in the Prague Zoo, I saw a very extraordinary bird. I found it very interesting and I really wanted to remember its name. It was shoebill. To make it easier to remember, I stopped for a moment and thought, well, that's shoe and bill. Nothing hard on it, right? So by simply picturing these two objects, the name shoebill got stuck in my head forever. I never had problem recalling the name of this bird. And I know that if I hadn't made this association consciously straight away after seeing its name, I would probably had a hard time remembering it afterwards. The same works with memorizing anything. Make associations straight away and you'll recall things easier. I guarantee that this works. So here are my 6 tips for effective learning that I shared with you today. Have frequent conversations with people better than you in the language. Make sure to implement into practice what you have learned. Once you have decided to study the language, study intensively. Know your motivation. Take it one word at a time and don't skip steps. Make associations. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out any of my new future videos. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Всем пока!